and he gets to show people his butthole, so that makes people laugh.
Yeah, maybe that's what we need.
We're not showing anyone our butthole on here yet.
But, yeah, so I guess today's podcast will be more or less about Brandon and his experience with Silver Kings 2023. But we'll start off from the very beginning. I don't know, about a week before Silver Kings was coming or was going to be here, you started having issues with your bike. Kind of explain what.
Yeah, it really didn't work out great for me at all, and I knew something like this was going to happen. But, I mean, the amount of hours that I was putting on that bike, it was kind of bound to happen, and I was really trying to get away with not basically doing a top end on it, I think. But I was trying to just get some like last minute prep in right before the race, just make sure everything was good to go. I think I added a couple parts, so just, that excuse of like, oh, I better go make sure my swing arm guard tab protector's working right. Just another excuse to ride, basically. And we're up there making trail and stuff, and I for some reason have a really bad problem with like the bike coming down backwards, resulting in like bent bars. It's happened quite often, so that added to the list right before the race. And I just had gotten different bars, so I was really excited to use those, and then I got bummed out when I couldn't use those. And then kept on going on the adventure for the day, and bikes started running kind of funny, and so I just got a little worried because it was like, we'll put it on a timeline here, it was Saturday. All those power sports shops are closed Sunday, Monday, so there's 2 days that I literally can't do anything. And like, I'd rather a shop have it in town so I didn't have to try to order something and just pray that I got here. The original plan was to leave Wednesday night, but so that would have cut time really short, but we bumped it to Thursday, which kind of helped a little bit. But basically, after the bike started running funny, I just had to wait it out for that Monday and Tuesday, which was like killing me because, I wanted that whole week to just be like prep for that Silver Mountain race and stuff. And when I got basically that, all right, we're going to have to cut some of this shit out. I'm going way too far off topic here. But I need to regroup my thoughts. Think about where I was going with this. All right, so I let that Monday and Tuesday go by, which was killing me. And then that Sunday, Monday. Okay, yeah, so Sunday, Monday went by. Tuesday, I was calling around to all the shops. I was talking to Jake, and he was saying that maybe it was my reeds. So I took the whole motor apart like 2 days before the race. He said it might be the reeds. Never changed them. That bike's got a lot of hours, so it was a very possibility that the reeds could have been leaking air. Basically, it just felt like it was having a high idle, so maybe like low oil mixture causing it to run lean. I was just trying to troubleshoot literally anything I could think of at the time. So checking for like leaks in the air boots. Like I said, the reeds. I think there were, the inline fuel filter and the fuel pump. I called shops like Tuesday and Wednesday, getting like new reeds, fuel filters, all that stuff, putting them in right before the race. Luckily, I was able to have my parents kind of like set the trailers up and stuff, so I didn't have to do quite everything to get ready, which was pretty big help. But basically just all kinds of bad luck going into the race, and then you know what happened on the way there. Got the flat tire on the trailer, so that just kind of added to it. But we got the bike
a flat tire, and we didn't have a spare. He's under there trying to lift up, and I'm like, bro, where's your spare? He's like, oh, it should be around here somewhere. He texts his dad, no spare. So we had to, thankfully, we had some great friends at Silver already, and they came back and got us a spare tire.
Yeah, that was pretty nice of them. So that kind of saved us a little bit. But, like, seriously, if there couldn't have been any more bad luck happen to anyone, I feel like I took it all. So, and then it kind of continues on to the race a little bit too. So this would have been my first hard enduro race that I've done. and first one of this like series for sure, which is like a whole different type of
Aside
racing.
from mountain moto, but that's not
These
really
are like national events,
Yeah.
though. You got people from the U.S., the world coming to it, and I so just kind of a new experience, trying to get used to it all. And then Silver Mountain's kind of unique in its own way. You got to ride your bike up to the top of the mountain, so you don't get to bring it all your tools, any gas or anything. Just kind of makes you feel a little uneasy, but not being prepared essentially. But nonetheless, it worked out okay, and it was kind of the prologue was Friday for us in the silver class, and then I think the main race for the bronze was Friday afternoon, and then Saturday would be the main event for silver and gold course.
So backing up just a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
you have been riding a dirt bike for roughly a year and a half.
Yeah.
What made you decide to race silver class instead of bronze class or gold class or whatever?
The gold class was pretty easy to exnate out of that list there, because he basically just said you got to be pro, you got to be really good, it's going to be really challenging. So I didn't even really have to think twice about that. And now the bronze loop as definitely would have probably been doable just based on what I've been riding. I was like, if I'm going to spend that kind of money on a dirt bike race, I'd like to get like a challenge out of it. That's kind of what I've been riding for, is like for the challenge. So I just figured I'd challenge myself with riding the silver course and just kind of let it turn out how it turned out. And then I really got into that attitude of just kind of let it happen how it happens, just because of all the problems I was having with my bike. So I went from like so excited the whole year to a week before it, and I was like, dude, this isn't even fun anymore. Like, this is so stressful, trying to keep this bike running, trying to get everything loaded and packed up, trying not to spend like $3,000 just on the bike to get ready for this race that only costed $275.
Yeah,
But,
it was pretty wild. I mean, I'm glad I didn't have to spend that much money.
Yeah, I mean, now I don't think like that's how it would be every race. I just think it, like I said, it was really a series of just like I rode the bike a lot leading up to the race, and then just perfect timing. Everything kind of crashed right before it. But so, like I said, I just kind of went into that race just letting it happen how it happens. Go have fun, like experience it, and then we'll be able to try something different next year. Hopefully with a new bike, if I can get that stuff squared away. But we'll kind of talk about the prologue a little bit. So kind of just like maybe obviously from my perspective, but you never really hear anything about like, I feel like anybody else's perspective other than you watch the YouTube videos. So this would be like stuff that I feel like I would be interested in hearing about if it was like my first time doing a hard enduro. And I know obviously they're all in different locations. They're a little different layout, but they basically lined us up in like rows of like 4, and which was all like announced on the internet beforehand, so we kind of knew where to line up at. And 4 at a time through like an enduro cross section, which was pretty fun. A little intimidating for some reason for me. Just we were up there watching all the bronze guys go over everything, and they were collapsing on the first obstacle. So I was like, either that's really hard or these guys are just struggling with that log. So kind of put me in a weird spot going into it, but I didn't really struggle too much on that section. And then after the prologue also was super fast paced. I think they had a 30-minute time limit on it, so it's not like you could really be out there for that long anyway. With just a couple quick hill climbs, a big downhill, and then you're kind of back up at the start line. So it wasn't super long. And I know after I got into it a little bit, I was making really good time up the first. So there's like 3 hills, I think. I made good time up the first one, was doing good on the second downhill, and then on my way up the third and last uphill, just I think my arm pump was insane, and like I couldn't hardly even control the bike. At like the levers, it was like, what are those? I don't even know anymore. I was just kind of literally holding on for dear life, and just hooked it. Like I think my clutch was also having some issues. Maybe I might as well just throw that excuse in there too. So just couple, like everything really wasn't working out in my favor, and all of a sudden I got tons of traction on this one spot, and I really wasn't used to it. Where like pretty much everywhere else on the track, and one of these like random switchbacks on this last uphill, I like stood my bike up like straight, leaned it up against a tree, and it like pushed all the gear on my left side of my bars, rolled it all back, just because I've gotten super scared and seen so many people break those master cylinders that I like keep everything like super loose that it'll just like if it gets pushed on, it'll just like flop up and I can push it back down. I'd rather be able to do that than have it break off and be like stranded somewhere. So basically when all that gear got pushed up, the handguard mount had like pulled on the starter wires. I moved my starter button to the left side. Everybody always hates on me for that, but I think it's pretty genius.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. It allows you to have like a one-handed operation to get your bike started. You have to have that hand on the bars because you have to have the clutch in. So I don't really see any reason wrong with it, but it works for me. And in this case, it pulled those wires out the back of the starter, caused like couldn't get the bike started. I was sitting there fumbling with it. I think we figured out it was like almost 6 minutes.
Yeah, it was like 5 minutes 41 seconds.
All right, so nearly 10 minutes. No. And you got to think in like a 30-minute timed race, like sitting down and doing nothing for that long is just killing your time.
Yeah, that would have moved you up a long ways.
Yeah. And so finally, I just started to get tools out. I was going to take the button apart just to see if I could like at least salvage some aspect of the prologue. And I started stripping the screw out on the starter. So I was like sitting there talking to the guy behind me for a second, just drinking water. And I was thinking I was just going to have to come get picked up by like a sweep rider or something. Start in the back of the pack on the main race day. So that was going to suck. But just a little bit of experience I've had like lately with those starter buttons. I knew that if you just touch those wires together, like two leads basically back there, it'll start the bike. So I just started yanking on the cables, basically as a last resort. I was like, the button's already messed up. I was like, what other damage could I do to this thing? So I just yanked the cables, the leads pull right out, touched them together, got the bike started, and I was like, all right, like we might be able to finish this prologue at least, as I've already seen like 20 people go past me. So a little discouraging, but got the bike started, made it up the rest of the way, came into the finish, and I later realized, or I think, what was I, 34th?
Yeah, something like that.
In the prologue. I mean, I had 240 riders, so
after 5 minutes and 41 seconds of wasted time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think that turned out pretty good, especially for like my first time doing one.
Yeah.
It didn't hurt me too bad. I definitely, knowing that and knowing the importance of the prologue, would have loved to have been like in the first 2 or 3 rows.
Yeah.
So that would have just been huge for the main race. I think that would have helped me a lot during it. But
yeah, I feel like that saves a ton of time.
Yeah. And so went back down, got the starter button replaced, and on the day, I don't know, is there anything else we're missing that's kind of important after the prologue? I don't think there was really much else.
Not really. I think you pretty much covered pretty much everything.
Yeah.
How was the prologue section? How was the enduro cross section of the race? Pretty easy?
Yeah, it wasn't hard by any means. Everything was like easy. I just wish there's one thing about like all that kind of stuff that I wish I could do better at, and that's like seeing those like little, I wouldn't say cheater lines, but they're just like lines that just help speed you up, and they just make you look more natural on the bike. Yeah. So there was like little sections where you could just jump and clear obstacles. I mean, every obstacle you don't touch is one less that you have to hit, right? Yeah. So if you can jump it, do it, it makes you look cooler. I mean, you're all about looking cool out there. So
for sure.
But I think we'll move on to the main race. Yeah, I don't think there's anything else that's super important about the prologue. So when it came to the main race, like I said before, starting 34th, I think that put me in row like 10 or 12 maybe.
Yeah.
Something kind of far back there, which was a little unfortunate, but I honestly didn't notice too much of it except for coming up to the very first hill climb of the race. So that really kind of like threw me for a loop there a little bit. I didn't expect that many people to be stuck already, especially if they were doing that well in the prologue. You'd think they'd all be like half decent.
Yeah.
And I was like following a train of guys down this to the bottom of the chair, came back up, pretended don't think about that the wrong way. Training guys. I was following like 5 guys down there, and like I don't know what they were doing, if they were just unsure about the course or what, but like I would have loved to just come down on this corner and like rail up the hill, but I was following them, and like they were just putting along.
Really?
And I was like, obviously I can't see like where the trail's headed. I'm just following the guy in front of me. And once I realized it was like a hill, I like was like, oh no, I'm getting out around from behind this guy. And it just kind of like, I mean, I did what I could. I think you guys will be able to see it in the YouTube video that we post, but like just kind of like try to take an alternate line. And they're usually not the fastest by any means. So got a little like stumbled up there, and then it just kind of turned into a shit show up there, like going up around people and getting
it
stuck
looked
in
pretty
the grass.
rough, that first hill climb.
Like I just didn't even know what to do. I was like, there's no trail. I was like, I guess we're just bombing up this hill. And I was like, but like it was such a weird thing because you almost had to like stop and think about it. You were like, I mean, I'm not going to get any time by just like pushing and like struggling my bike up this thing. We're only 5 minutes into this race. So I just tried to like sit there, calm down. And I was like, all right, we've got like 6 hours, and I think I need to play this a little bit smarter. I need to like figure out the easiest way to get up this, because I already saw there was a bike up the hill that I think he like blew a radiator hose off of his motor because it was like a plume of smoke. And I was like, it wasn't just like overheating. It was worse than that. So I was like, oh, okay, this is like a serious hill, I guess. And but like, you know, it wouldn't be anything if you were just like up there with your buddies
with no one around.
That's what's so weird about these races is like it's probably nothing when you're just on a casual day, but you feel that race pressure on, and it's like, whoa, this is insane. So
yeah,
I just tried to like collect myself. I rode actually back downhill to try to just get another run at it. Made me absolutely no time in this situation, but
it's more or less, I saw that part, and it's more or less you would have a good opportunity and you could make the right decisions, but you got a guy right next to you pushing you, so you can't look for the best line right away. And he's pushing you, and finally you take the line and it's not the line you should have taken.
Yeah. And it's just like, I think that pressure that's always behind you, I think that's one thing that's kind of important to focus on these races is not letting other people push you.
Yeah.
Obviously, it can be a good thing in some spots, but you just got to worry about yourself. And if you ride a lot and you have the endurance, like you're going to finish over that person behind you no matter how fast they're going, because they're just going to peter out. There was a couple guys that I know for sure in the creek sections that I was like trying to stay in front of them, you know, and every time I would like stop to take a breather real fast, he'd like come up behind me and stop, and I'd look back at him and he'd be like, no, dude, you're good. He's like, I'm just out here having fun, man. I'm like, what? I was like, I'm tired, and this guy says he's out here just having fun. So, but so yeah, just kind of focus on yourself, I think. But after I got through that first hill climb, they did have some sections where it was like you kind of got a break for a little bit. A lot of it was some steep, like single track, really, really like single track, just wide enough for like a front tire almost. So you almost kind of had to take that slow. Just kind of work yourself around people and pace yourself that way. There was a couple other bottlenecks that I ran into, but right off the bat. But then I kind of got lucky, honestly, and I got around some of those bottlenecks pretty quick. And I think if you can get around those first couple bottlenecks of a hard enduro like that, you're going to be doing yourself a huge favor, just because you're not going to have to wait for all those people to get through it. If they're getting through it, they're probably decent riders.
Yeah.
So that part's kind of important, I think. That also would help if you would have started closer to the front of the pack for the main race. But, you know, not every prologue goes good for you. So
yeah. So As far as the main race goes, what do you think the hardest part was?
I think the biggest like energy like killer was just the huge hill climbs.
Yeah.
They kind of come out of nowhere, and there wasn't even really that many of them, but it was just like it's that situation where like if you make it, it's huge, and if you don't, it's going to be like a real struggle. So
Yeah.
if you have to go back down and come back up to try to like shoot it again and you don't make it again, it like degrades you mentally by like 50% every time you don't make it.
Yeah.
So like there was a guy that I was riding with for a while, and he shot right up one of the huge hills, and it was just like immediately it just killed me. I was like, no. I was like, I have to do that, otherwise I'm going to waste so much time and so much energy that like that guy's gone. Like,
Yeah.
you save so much time by making them. So if there was one thing I was going to work on this year to prepare myself for next year, I think it would be confidence in hill climbs and just like the technicality of a hill climb. You don't think of it that as like that much. You're just like freaking twist throttle and rip it up the hill.
Yeah, it's not like you're bad at hill climbs either.
No, I don't think it's as simple as that. I mean, you're dealing with like shelves and roots that are gonna buck you up off of it. You got to know, like, I think that that hake or hump strategy we were working on a little bit,
Yeah.
that we kind of dropped off. I think we need to bring that back. I think that could be a big help. So just moving your weight like forward and backwards and changing where you're getting traction would help for that. But
Yeah, and not only keeping it forward, but low and forward and stay in it.
Kind of. I've heard a couple people talk about it, but I know there's plenty of people that probably haven't heard it. Like, there's a difference between like sitting on your bike on the seat and like standing on the pegs. Like, yeah, your whole body weight's on the bike still, but it's changing your center of gravity. So if you're standing on your pegs, it's much, much lower. And I mean, like, you always see the guys and you're like, oh, you want to like sit on your seat for going up hills and stuff. But like, I think you really want to be like that far off your seat with all your weight on your pegs still. So just something to think about. And then another aspect of the hill climb that I think I want to work on is like, they always say like when you get stuck on the hill to start switchbacking. So instead of just like thinking of like, oh, I'm going to switch back again, and then I'm going to switch back again, think of it more as like, I'm going to switch back and I'm going to see how far I can get up off of one switchback.
Yeah, because if you're constantly like, oh, I'm going to go to here and switch back, you could really go way further.
But you're not even thinking about it. It's all like what you're thinking about. And I know when I was out practicing, I definitely was trying to think of how tight can I switch back.
Yeah.
Like it is important just to like have the technical ability, but I don't think it's important during a race.
Yeah.
When you switch back, you need to be like trying to go up, not just trying to switch directions. That's like a whole different aspect of a switchback. So that's kind of an interesting aspect that I learned, that anytime I would ask people about the race, they never really would give me like a clear answer on that. So I think that's a piece of information that I learned. That.
How do you think your physical conditioning was? I mean, you obviously ride a lot more than most people would, but how do you think your physical conditioning was?
It wasn't perfect.
Yeah, I don't think it'll ever be perfect.
No, and it wasn't bad, but I honestly would have liked it to be more. And like, I'll be honest, like, I don't even work out. I don't run. I don't like bike. I don't go to the gym. I literally just ride the dirt bike. So maybe I'll do something next year to like further the conditioning outside the bike, but I don't know.
You're like, I'll ride more.
Yeah, dude. I feel like if you're tired after riding, you're obviously getting more conditioned.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're riding and you're not tired.
If you just ride all the time, I mean, you're doing good. It's just a matter of the average guy who doesn't have a couple hours to go riding, but he's got an hour to go on a run or something like that.
Yeah. Or like a bike ride or something.
Yeah.
But if you're going to do that bike ride, like, I honestly, with anything, I think you can like casually do it. But like, I think if you want to like gain from it, you got to like bike hard or run hard.
Oh, yeah.
To, like,
yeah, there's
get that really good conditioning in.
I don't think there's going to be any casual about it. which sucks because casual things are pretty nice. But
Yeah.
if you want to get like what you need out of it, you definitely have to
talking about like
work
with
hard.
women? Casual things?
No, not quite what I'm talking about. But yeah, so that was a great race. I mean, as a spectator, it was pretty cool. As a spectator, you even need cardio though, because I ran my ass off trying to follow you around the mountain. I mean, sometimes I would get to a point where I'm like, oh, he's going to be here, and you were already past it. So I had to go to the next spot. And the lines with the freaking gondolas were, when you sit in line for 45 minutes.
Yeah,
well,
that sucks.
We were I can't remember what the hill's called, but we were at the very top, that one of the last hills.
The full gas one?
Yeah, full gas. And I waited in line for the chairlift, and Eric's mom and stepdad and Eric and all them, they walked with babies and everything. And they beat us there by like 10 minutes.
Jeez.
That's how long the lines were. I was glad I didn't have to walk, but still.
Yeah, I think that I heard them talk about trying to make that into a world event next year. So they're going to need, that's probably one of those aspects that they're going to have to work on if they're going to do something like that. Maybe swap out those bike chairs off for the weekend so that they can get more people.
Yeah, I don't know what they would do. You would think they would have every one of them going, but it's also like everyone was going downhill and there wasn't anyone coming back up. So I think that's why they did every other one.
Yeah, I know the like weight loads are different going down too.
Yeah,
so it's kind of designed to bring people up.
But that race was super cool. So you'd say hill climbs are one of the things you're going to work on for next season?
Yeah, hill climbs, and I would say the creeks were hard, but like I would expect them to be hard. Like it's slippery, it's rocky.
I feel like that's the one thing everyone's like most excited about. So that's the one thing everyone practices.
Yeah, and I mean, unless you're like in the front of the creek or in the front of the pack, going up the creek, like you're most likely going to be behind someone and they're going to be like going and stopping. So you're going to have time to break and rest. It wasn't too big of a deal. I feel like I got kind of lucky going through some of the sections, because I just like kept hooking up and I just kept on going. And I knew there was guys behind me that would make it like 5 feet and get stuck in a hole that I was able to just like kind of chug on through. So I got lucky in that sense.
Yeah. I was thinking about it too. Going with riders that aren't quite as good as you can be used as a training tool as well. So say you get into a creek section, or we're going to go from point A to point B. Use it as, okay, we're going to let them, if they're not as good as you, we're going to let you guys go first. And we're going to try and get to the top of the hill before everyone. Use it as like people you're passing, basically. You got to work to catch up to them, work to get around them, and work to get up before them. And that would be a good training tool, I think, too, because there was a lot of people in that creek. And if you can learn how to pick different lines to get around them, just let them do what they're going to do, and you just work lines to get around them.
I think some of that also had to do with like confidence of my endurance.
Yeah.
I just knew, I was like, I mean, yeah, I could get around this guy. Am I going to stop him in like 5 minutes because I'm out of breath? Probably.
Yeah.
So I was just more or less like, I'm also out of breath. I'm going to take a break.
Yeah.
He's taking a break. We're all taking breaks. So,
yeah.
I thought that race was super fun, and I heard it was way better structured than it was the prior year and any other years in the past. So I think it's a good race that'll keep on going. So
yeah, it's definitely going big. So hopefully it's even bigger next year.
I think it's a perfect spot for it. I mean, they got the resort, they got the amenities there, so they'll be able to support a crowd like that. Yeah,
for sure. It was super fun being able to camp. Everyone was having a good time in the parking lot. Just, I mean, everyone's there to race, and some of them are taking it more serious than others. But for the most part, you have a pretty serious crowd there. As far as, I mean, they're still having fun, but before the race, they're definitely like,
yeah, they're a lot serious.
It's not like St. Mary's. That's what I'm trying to say.
They're just out there at 3 a.m. just like,
yeah,
like doing burnouts.
Yeah. There was plenty of burnouts, but they were before 7 a.m.
Yeah.
Or 7 p.m., sorry. So, yeah, that was super cool. The parade was pretty cool watching that. Few clowns out there having fun. I didn't bring my bike, so I would have done it anyways. But
yeah, I wasn't quite sure with the whole like riding up on the road to the top of the mountain and stuff, if that was gonna wear out a tire at all. So I brought two, and I'm really glad I did, because the second day I feel like I was using up every last bit of that tire to get through some of those sections. I was like,
how did your
God.
tire look after the race?
So I was running a JX8 with a soft bib drilled out, and I would say it's probably at like 60% life maybe left.
Oh, okay.
The like backside, the braking side still is pretty sharp, but the front's definitely like just rounded over.
Yeah.
Completely. So I don't know. I just thought I'd like to have a good tire for like I was saying, those hill climbs, because they're just important. So
did you like that soft mousse drilled out?
Yeah, definitely. I think going into it, I just kind of wanted to like do anything I could to like get an advantage over the next guy, basically. So, I mean, I don't know how it's going to affect the life of it, the durability and stuff, but I think it felt pretty good. So, and honestly, I think if you lube up a moose like often and you don't like, I guess like trash on it by like high speed on the road and stuff, I think you can get quite a bit of life out of them.
Yeah.
So,
I could see that. Just keeping it well lubed is kind of a big one.
yeah.
What were you running in the front for moose?
Yeah, the front, I was running a moose with the Shinko.
Was it a soft
tire.
moose?
No, it's a hard moose.
It is a hard moose?
But like too small of a hard moose.
Oh.
So it's got some play in there.
Yeah. It goes boom, 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 boom.
No, the front moose that I've had has lasted 500 hours.
Dang.
So I've never changed it, and it still looks like brand new. Obviously, it's squished, but
yeah, everyone says mooses
changing.
don't last, but that's not necessarily true.
I've had a couple like close friends that have said that they've got quite a bit of life out of theirs.
Yeah.
So, like many years is a lot of life. So
yeah.
I don't know. I think they're a good tool. And like I heard two separate people on the road up to Silver popped their front and back tires. Two people.
Oh,
they didn't even
funny.
get a race because of that. So,
you know how much of a bummer that would be?
Yeah. Like there's no point in even risking it. If you're doing enduro, hard enduro, just buy the bibs.
Yeah.
Like, I don't even know if what's that, the tubeless.
Oh,
like,
yeah.
Do you really want to take the chance? And
I've been seeing people doing like tubeless and moose.
Yeah.
But I don't know what the purpose of that would be.
Because you have, so they'll use that tubeless, that inner tube, and they'll like basically protect the rim, and then they'll use the moose just to fill the tire. That way you can run a super soft moose and you won't destroy your rim.
Oh.
Kind of smart, but I mean, you're talking
some ponies. Yeah, I am not a rich man, so.
Yeah, we're going to keep it nice and simple. Whatever works, it works.
Yeah.
We'll use all the parts till the end of their life.
I definitely need to get a soft moose, though, for sure.
Yeah. You still have the hard one?
Yeah.
You drill it out, though?
I did drill it out.
It's probably pretty good. Like, I still know a few people that run the hard one, but drilled out. And
yeah, it doesn't seem terrible, so I haven't really had any.
Yeah, I mean, you haven't got to ride it probably a whole lot either since you drilled it.
Nope, I have not.
Was it like the one time? You rode it more than once?
No, I rode the race, and then we rode that one time, and I haven't rode since.
That's insane.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah.
So,
shoot, what are we going to do next spring?
I don't know.
Ride every day.
Ride every day. I'll have to make up for this last season. Yeah.
That'll be a perfect excuse.
Yeah.
If you can get away with it.
So, yeah, things that's been kind of going on with me. I got my pins out. My wrist is moving. So that's good. It doesn't move very much. I mean.
Yeah. Dude, I feel like that just looks painful. Like, I feel like you shouldn't be able to bend it.
It doesn't feel great.
But, like, you can move it.
But I can move it. So, and my clutch fingers, this finger's still a little jacked up.
Oh, did you see that movement?
But, I mean,
that's something
pulling those clutch fingers in, man. So that's good. I have been looking for a PW50 for my daughter. And Brandon and I went out and got one the other day, an older one, like a 93-ish. And it ran. It carried us around. I was super stoked. I was like, all right, I'm going to redo a bunch of stuff, get new plastics, just go through, clean it all because it was pretty dirty. I mean, it's an old bike, pretty dirty, and just needed to clean it all. It was carrying you around, I mean, somewhat fine. Like, there was things that needed to be done to it.
It felt fine
for a 50.
I didn't expect much out of it.
Yeah, for a PW. And so I got everything together. What did I do? I put new plastics on it, new grips on it, new tires on it, new tubes. I put a new seat cover, which was a pain in the ass. I had to shave the seat in order for me to get the seat cover on because it was so tight.
Really?
Yeah, so that sucked. I know there's some other things that I'm missing. The air filter had like a boot in between the carburetor and the air filter, and it like broke off essentially. And it didn't even have a bolt in there, so it had to been rattling and just rotted over time. So I got a new air box, new air filter.
So you bought a new bike without buying a new bike?
Yeah, pretty much. So that kind of sucked. And then yesterday I go and start it, and I give it all the beans, and it doesn't even move me. So something's wrong with it. So if you ever heard of anything like that, there's basically like no go. Like, it should be able to carry me at least a little ways, but I can sit on it and it full gas and it doesn't move. He said the top end was fresh this last winter, like he just replaced it. And I'm wondering if he just did it wrong maybe. And that could be.
But I feel like if the top end's bad,
you'll hear it. Run. You'll hear it every once in a while. I'm hearing like knock, 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 knock. So you'll have to hear it. And I'm just wondering if he maybe just did it, and then they didn't even ride it ever since then, and he just did it wrong or something. Mm-hmm. So I was thinking about getting a compression tester and just seeing if there was compression.
Yeah.
Other than that, I have no idea.
I mean, it's not too hard to pop the top of the head off and just peek at it.
Yeah.
And see
I got a new carburetor on the way because they were only like $20, and I'll see maybe it's such a small carburetor. I'm wondering if maybe one of the jets got clogged or anything like that. I'm too lazy to take it apart. I'm just like, I'll just put a new one on there.
With those small ones, it's almost easier. Like the rebuild kit's like $30 and a new carburetor's $20.
Yeah.
Might as well just buy the new carb.
So I just bought a new carb. It should be here any day. We'll throw that on there and see what it does. I know that they said there's like a kill switch. Like, you unplug this thing because the kit, like, it says start and run, and sometimes it, like, the computer thinks it's on start all the time, so it won't have power. But I unplugged that, same thing. It just isn't running right. And then I go to put the new rear tire on, and I go to take the new wheel off, and the guy either glued it or Loctited it on the shaft.
Sounds like some Idaho shenanigans.
So it's just been a cluster. I mean, I somewhat wish people, and maybe he didn't know, maybe he bought it used, but I wish people were honest about what they've done, instead of just, it runs great, it's a great bike, like, tell me a little bit about it. Like, don't tell, if you glued the freaking wheel on, let me know.
Yeah, that would have been a good disclosure before you buy.
Because if the drive shaft is bad, I got to figure out how to get that wheel off to get the drive shaft replaced. So if you're selling bikes, I mean, somewhat be honest about what you're selling, for sure. It's definitely hard when you're trying to purchase a used bike. That's why I think I'm just going to buy, like, new every time I get a new bike because I don't want to deal with this.
Yeah, unless you got a good idea of how to just go through everything. Yeah, I think new bikes are the way
I'm not quite a mechanic, so, and I don't think Jake's working on PW50s full time these days either.
Probably like to not.
Yeah, he's like, no. So,
well,
but yeah, anything else?
there was something I wanted to talk about, but
tech tip.
Yeah,
if you're pulling a trailer, have a spare tire.
Oh yeah, I think we could come up with a better one maybe more specifically for dirt bikes.
Yeah, if you get a new dirt bike, are you going to take the plastics off when you first get it?
I might ride it around.
No.
No, you got to get like those like ritual scratches out of the way, and then you can store them. And then when you put them back on, they're gonna look fresh. They're just gonna look slightly used. I'm talking like one ride.
One ride with you. You bend your bars.
Not the plastics.
Not the plastics. Snap fender first ride, probably. No, I guess they redid the rear fender on the new bikes.
Yeah, it's not like joined with the other pieces. So if it breaks, it'll just be the rear fender, I think.
That's kind of cool.
Oh, that's what I was going to talk about. I was going to be like, we could get like a thumbnail with like a new bike in here and talk about a new bike. So I might be getting a new bike. Like, it's a pretty sure yes, but I'm not quite there yet.
Yeah.
We're getting there. Like, maybe by the end of the week I'll have it. So maybe we'll do like one of those like cool black outlines of the bike, like sitting in the living room.
Sitting in the living room? Yeah.
And everybody will be like, oh, what kind of bike is he getting?
I just got to figure out how to do that. Photoshop. Yeah, I'll figure it out. I got that.
Yeah.
So, actually, I might know how to do it on Snapchat, too.
Oh, yeah.
You can make like a little thingy.
Yeah.
We'll figure it out.
Yeah, I think that'd be kind of cool. But I don't know. Either you guys can guess what bike I'm getting, and then we'll make another podcast, and then
in the comments down below, guess what bike you think he's gonna get, and say what bike you think he should get and why.
Yeah, and then the next podcast we'll try to do like a first review or first thoughts on it. So it'll be a brand new one, like a 2024. So
I did kind of give it away by talking about the new plastics, but
secret. I still don't know if enough people know about that yet.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Yeah. So it might be a totally new bike for him. We'll see. It's definitely going to be a different CC. He's going from a 250 to a 300. So
and if you want to buy a used bike, I've got one for sale.
And he has been very honest about what it is on this podcast.
I mean, it's basically been completely rebuilt at this point.
Yeah.
Like
he's put $4,000 into it in the last month.
Yeah, just getting it ready for. I mean, it's got like new everything that most people don't even replace. So
yeah,
and it runs good now. I just think it needs new throttle cables. I think that's what I've come down to. The whole issue has been.
Yeah.
So me chasing all that, I think has come back down to throttle cables.
Nice.
You want to know why?
Why?
So I went over the bars twice, like the other weekend, or when I got back from Silver, when I got the top end done in it.
Yeah.
And both times I hit the throttle cables with my legs, and it started running funny after that. And then I would sit there on the mountain, and I'd take off the throttle housing. I'd tug on the wires. I'd lube them up. I'd put it all back together, tighten it all down, start it up, and it would run perfectly fine. And I was like,
What kind of running? Did you lose power when it would do that?
Kinda, but it was just like I lost power in the sense that it was like sticking, like it was like a holding like spot. And I wonder if like the cable's like deep down, not where I like play with them a lot, up on the bars. I was wondering if they're either have like frayed or gotten just worn out, and the coating's like worn off inside of it, causing the cable to stick. And I think it's the return cable. I think it's like sticking a little bit, and it's not letting it come back down. Because when I took it apart, pulled on them, put it back together, it ran good, went over the bars again, hit the throttle cable side again, and it started acting up again. So, and I did the same process, and it kind of went away. And it hasn't come back yet, but I haven't crashed and hit the bars. So.
Yeah. Well, cool. Thanks for listening to Brandon talk about Silver. It's a super cool race. You should really think about doing it next year, but sign up after I do, of course. So, yeah, definitely think about doing it next year. And if you're going to do it, I recommend, if you're on the upper level of, say, a B class or a bronze class, I really recommend doing a silver class because it looked like a lot of fun. That's definitely what I'll be doing. I'm probably a mid to upper level B class rider, and I will for sure be doing that silver. And the way I'm going to look at it is just, hey, I'm going to get to this checkpoint. I'm going to get to the next checkpoint. I'm going to get to the next checkpoint and just work as hard as I can until I either finish or I don't. If I don't finish, I still feel like this experience of a silver class race is going to be far better than a podium in a B class race, in just my opinion. Mm-hmm. I mean, that's what you're there for. You're there for a hard enduro, not a trail ride. So definitely recommend pushing yourself, getting that silver class, come race. I mean, we'll be doing it next year, unless I fall again.
We're going to hope he does.
We're going to hope that doesn't happen. But we're definitely going to push ourselves. I think I'm going to do a lot fewer races next year and focus on just the hard enduro side of things.
Yeah, that's some important stuff.
So just so I can get out there. I mean, I'm shooting for a finish. So
Yeah, I think you got it. So, well, if you guys go to our YouTube account, The Big Rock, we'll have this posted on there. We're going to post it on Apple Music and Spotify. And you guys
if
can
you go to
follow us there.
Spotify, that definitely helps us out a lot more. Or YouTube. Spotify and YouTube are definitely a lot easier on us than Apple Podcast. But
So, cool.
yeah, thanks for listening.